Let it echo. This is New Eden FM, presented by the Jita Network. This is This is New Eden FM, the radio show, your weekly update on all things online and Eve Echoes. And here are your hosts, Maestro, Alundria, and Rosalind Who Spy.
New Eden news, and holy cow, you never realize how much you love all of this stuff until you really don't have it switched over to our main connection. Hopefully the internet will hold out long enough for us to do the show. Either way, this is New Eden news, and as we could expect after a reasonably large patch 2 weeks ago, we didn't really get anything this time, right? I mean, we got some market updates, that's fairly standard at this point, and a few general maintenance fixes to make sure that the game doesn't collapse on us or that phones don't turn into hand grenades again. Because, apparently that's a thing, right?
Yeah, I mean, that was unusual, and it seemed like it fixed the problem for 90% of people, like that overheating issue, but I know one of our officers was having issues with it for pretty much, another 2-3 weeks afterwards?
Yes. And I have no idea which version of phone he uses. It was kind of like a strange anomaly, to be completely honest. Everybody else was doing fine, but he tried playing the game and then had to just, put it in the icebox because it was still overheating. And from what he told us, it was a relatively high-priced, Android phone, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I mean, I was completely fine on my two phones. I mean, I use Apple, iPhone 8 and iPhone 12.
There you go.
But yeah, it was just unusual.
Yes, the same thing here. I only use iDevices. Both myself and my sister, we only use iDevices. The only non-Apple device in the house is the studio computer, which actually is a PC, but it does a really good job. So, I mean, I don't care to change that. But anyway, apparently the heat issues were still a thing, but the game started to act a lot more, I want to say, stable about a week ago after they did the drop patch. So hopefully that fixed things for a lot of other people. I know that as I was walking around space, the textures were much more smooth. There was less lag. There was less screen tearing. I thought it was pretty awesome. So, good stuff. So I won't keep anyone in suspense because, I mean, the only thing that's really interesting about New Eden's news is the Q&A from last week, which drops, I believe, either earlier this morning or late last night. Take your pick. So the first question is, Neola Space is predominantly overrun with compressed mining sites. Is there a design intent of the developers or the development team to have so many everywhere? Most explorers don't mind at all, and it's becoming a waste of our gameplay time only to find compressed sites, especially since we have no Options for mining ventures are barges to speak of. Getting miners to leave the safety of Sob is an impossible task. These sites are sitting there all week long, which prevents possible new spawns. There's nothing in these sites worthwhile for an explorer. Could we get more combat in space sites instead? Tech 1 through 10 in Melsec. At least the Ratters will travel. Thank you. No, the Ratters won't travel. I don't know which Ratters you're talking about. The answer is that the Nihilist condensed asteroid belts and Nihilist dead spaces use separate spawn caps, which means the farmer does not affect the spawn of the latter. There are currently no plans to increase the spawn rate of Nihilist dead space. I don't know.
Yeah, pretty concise. I mean, I do agree to a degree. Ratters are more likely to travel. I mean, if you said to a miner, "Oh yeah, there's a compressed belt. It's about 4 or 5 jumps away," they'll just go, "Yeah, sod that." But if you tell a PVE pilot, "Oh yo, there's a Dead Space 9, a Dead Space 10, a few jumps over," they'll be like, "I'm already halfway there."
I remember that. Really, our miners pretty much refuse to leave the system. We just spawn our own compressed ore belts, and the Ratters used to leave. We used to. We don't really do it anymore. But I think that a lot of that is due to the fact that number one, there's not really a reason to go out there unless you're going to basically like free space in bird territory to go and take care of something. Which case, okay, fine, whatever. But
Yeah, I think even the Ratters generally feel like they lose a lot when they leave their solve systems because of all the upgrades we've all put into our solve space. So it's a tricky one, right? I think we spoke a little on it last week, where it's a case of NetEase have definitely focused more on the Corp as a unit rather than the Alliance as a unit, and to a degree, it feels like the community at large can kind of suffer for it.
oh yeah, I mean they're making decisions based off of it's kind of like having a design plan when you go into something. You know what you want to do, and then your plan isn't working, and you just keep on doing the same thing. It's like me going into a club, and I put on a country song, but everybody wants to listen to rap, right? And so instead of reading the crowd and knowing that these are people that want to shake their ass to some rap, I'm gonna keep on playing country all night. That's the best example I can give of NetEase's attitude on this whole thing.
Yes, but if
Oh,
you do that, you're gonna end up not getting invited back tonight because ain't nobody gonna be wanting to take your booty to no country. So, you know,
I'd be fired so fast, girl. They would run me out of there with pitchforks and torches.
There
But
you go.
yeah, but I mean, it's a whole different story, I guess, when it comes to Eve living. I don't know, maybe we might be taking our PvE ships around a little bit more, seeing as how Mel is going to be reprising his role as the Rat King, at least for like 2 weeks.
Yeah, the Rat King Meliodas.
The Rat King is back. So
Oh
in saying
my.
that, yeah, oh my goodness. So the second question, is there a plan to bring back old purple nanocores in boxes or Concord passes, the ones before the Ascension Core? And the answer to this is thank you for your feedback. We've received a lot of feedback about wanting the old nanocores back in the game. Recently, we've been thinking about the right way to bring back the old nanocores, but haven't quite thought it through yet. So no specific release date planned on that one. How about planning some capital nanocores that we can actually earn through Concord Pass instead of just well events while you're at it?
Yeah. Well, here, let me give this about. I haven't thought about this before. I'm gonna give it 5 seconds of thought. I bet you I can do better. How about an anniversary event where you can get not only capital Canano cores, but all the past cores from the game? Big event. Boom. 5 seconds. I got a good event.
Dude,
They ain't
and
trying.
the thing is, I mean, really, the code is already in there. You know what I mean? It's already there, and I would look forward to the anniversary event because if you guys remember last year when the anniversary event rolled around, it was actually really good. Like, it was a really good anniversary event, even though it probably wasn't as good as the Halloween event that they first released. It was pretty good. You got really good deals. I didn't mind blowing up a ton of money on the store. I mean, I literally got enough Plex through market sales that I didn't have to pay for the game for like an entire year, aside from maybe Concord Pass and stuff. But
Yeah.
I don't know if we're gonna get something like that again this year. It was great. It was great. I would love to see it, but I don't know if we're gonna get it. So, you know, rip.
I mean, I think we're all still hoping and praying we get another event very similar to the Halloween event that we all loved.
Yeah, I know, right? Third question.
That
Sorry, go ahead, please.
I was just gonna say, sad that that Halloween event is entered Eve lore as the epitome of what is wonderful, and it was a month into the game or 2 months into the game, and they haven't repeated it since. And here we are about to celebrate what, second anniversary?
And we still haven't gotten a really awesome event. I had really high hopes for the Interstellar Bazaar when they talked about when it was on the event because when or on the calendar. If you guys remember back when we had the roadmap, the Interstellar Bazaar was actually marked on the roadmap, and I was thinking that it was going to be this huge event with content. Like if you thought that the Halloween event was something, you ain't seen nothing yet. Like I was thinking that it was going to be this massive event. And unfortunately, it didn't happen because, it was like it was just a whale event. It was literally a whale event, right? And so there was no real content to be had. Out of this past Concord event, the only thing that you could get out of it was the badge. The badge was the best. It was the best reward that you can get out of that one. And guess what? You had to be tech 9 or 10 to be able to even get the badge because all the missions required or recommended Tech 10 battleships. So if you were like a player that is Tech 8 or lower, good luck actually getting that done without help from a Tech 10 player, which made absolutely no
Yep.
sense. It's like the missions didn't even scale, which made the entire thing even worse.
Yeah, they didn't give a lot again. Once again, not a lot of thought at all.
None. No thought. No thought went into that. I was thinking that maybe the mission scaled, right? And so when I created my new clone, I decided let me go ahead and do these missions because I'm stuck in high sec for a little while until I'm ready to come to null sec. And I literally the missions scale. They don't scale. And so I get there and I'm like, oh my gosh, is it really asking like a Tech 5 pilot for a Tech 10 battleship? And after that, I just was like, you know what? After this, I'm done. I'm done. I'm done because I tried
I
to
mean,
look
you
at.
could always take yourself a faction battleship, Kenzie. I mean, they're only T8.
Yeah, absolutely. So, which one of you guys wants to kill my Balgorn en route to Los?
I'll take it. I'll take that kill now.
Yeah, totally. And the next question is, when we generate lists, would it be possible for capital ships to also be on the generate materials list for all the items on the list, possibly as a sublist? And the answer to this is we are designing a new calculation function called the industrial penetration, which can convert an item. Shut up, Latour.
Penetration.
Somebody needs to rethink the translation on that one.
Yeah. This is definitely a example of, I think, a bad translation, and they doubled down with the wording, and it
I
is.
was trying.
Mwah.
I was trying really hard not to laugh before I finished reading.
Industrial penetration. That's one of those things you just want to say. That's what she said.
I mean, you think the indie pilots are used to it by now, to be honest, the way NetEase have been treating them.
Kind of industrial penetration is what Indy has been getting from
My
NetEase
God.
for a long time.
My gosh, I swear our ratings just skyrocketed off that one moment. Thanks, NetEase.
We're professionals here.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Don't try this at home, kiddies.
Yeah, I'm waiting for all the bend me over jokes from the Royal pilots. But anyway, yes, they're designing the new industrial penetration system, which can convert an item into its blueprint and the corresponding materials. It allows multiple penetrations.
Oh no!
You know what?
Multiple now. Oof.
I know it's so cute. It really is cute. Oh my gosh.
Enough to make your
Oh
eyes water.
man.
Oh, thank you,
I
Nettie. You just
wanna
made my day.
I wanna say something. I wanna say something, but I think instead I will try to move on and get through the rest of this. I would try to get through the rest of this statement. For example, if a list contains a carrier upon first calculations, it would be converted into a carrier blueprint component plus components. Upon second calculation, it would be converted into a carrier blueprint component blueprint, or an planetary materials.
So basically, the penetration allows you to go
Oh man.
deeper into the industry list.
I'm not gonna lie, right now I am really wanting to unleash my inner freak. I
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. It's like I know that Rambo is gonna cover it on his show on Thursday, during Echoes of New Eden, and I kinda wanna go just to just because I know that it's gonna have the same response it did here. Okay, prepare yourselves for some industrial penetration. In fact, let's go ahead and drop this in Bell Discord when I get back over there, right? When we get back over there, let's prepare yourselves for some industrial penetration. Lag will look at us like
Hear
we're
me out.
crazy. He's gonna be like, I swear, Lag and Lafayette are gonna kill us. Like, what are you talking about industrial penetration? I don't know, ask Netties.
Gosh, y'all must have some
like-
fun over there.
I'm gonna say nothing else but bend over to the floor, touch your toes. Okay, so the final question. I am enjoying the new industry update, but would like more ways to use cell or oh crap. I can't believe they even selected this one off the first sentence. Could we have news missions?
Industrial sinks.
Yep, could we have news missions that tactically acts for a specific ore, to balance the drain, and delivery points would be the closed ITCs. Higher the difficulty, the more ore they will take. This way it gives more use for missions and helps to stabilize the ore market. Oh boy, here we go. Currently, encounters missions is the only way to exchange ore for ISK through the trading with the system. The purpose of this part of the encounters mission is to help capsuleers who are new to industry production to establish goals. So the system collects low-level ores and the rewarding ISK is limited. We have not been considering increasing the conversion rate of ore to ISK through the system of trading. In other words, bend over for some more industrial penetration, because you're not getting all those market updates and ways for your ore to become more valuable miners. I'm sorry.
I mean,
have
to be
lots of
fair-
industrial penetration in this particular segment.
In every
So
segment.
So to be fair, I mean, a lot of alliances have a buyback program of their own. So, and they're kind of asking for a game buyback in a way, a game system
They're
buybacks
I
program.
mean, what they're actually asking for, to be fair, is for the value of ore to actually be improved upon, and it hasn't. The market has steadily been crashing as far as ore prices and PI prices are concerned, ever since, even before they put the Oracle and the Orcas in. And an analysis actually took charts and showed how the market has been crashing. There is no way that these guys have not looked at the market data and saw how material prices are down. There's no way. They're purposely ignoring it. There's no other way to justify it except that they are purposely ignoring the market, and they want to keep it that way because they believe that it'll help to milk people for more money. A worse market means that people have to spend more money on Plex, essentially. And I mean, if anyone has any other reason why it could be this way, I'd be more than happy to bring you into the studio and explain it to me, because the only way I can understand why anyone would see market trends, you don't have to be a professional economist to see how bad the market is and where it's going and what would stabilize it. The only way for the market to be as bad as it is in terms of ore and other materials is if you want to keep it that bad.
Yeah, it is purposeful. It is absolutely purposeful to allow them to bilk money from the player base.
Yeah, I can't explain. So if, like I said, if anyone else has a different opinion, you have friends that have a different opinion, please have them reach out. I mean, we're not going to bite their heads off or anything. Instead, I'm just going to inquire from them how they feel that this is, that this is that this is good economical balance. Like how they think this is helping to balance the economy. I will gladly hear it.
Yeah, it's just one of those things. I think that definitely it needs looking at. Like realistically, we need a few more mineral sinks into this game, and like capital ships it's a good mineral sink, but it's also one hell of an ISK
It's
sink.
an is
So
sync. That's an is
Yeah, it's
sync.
really that's an is thing because the minerals and planetary resources that are needed for a capital ship are just this very small percentage of the overall cost of it. It's all button press. Is it's like 75% button press in the cost of making one. That's just completely out of whack. It should be the reverse.
Hmm.
Minerals and planetary should be 75% of the cost of it. Button press 25%.
I think
They've got it all backwards. We
it's
live in the
close.
upside down.
It's close to that in Eve Online, and I don't. I try not to overdo it with the Eve Online examples because it kind of depresses me. But the way that the market is as far as EO is concerned versus Eve Echoes. But like I still remember me and Amy sitting there and spending like 170 something bucks to finish the first capital ship build, right? And then when I sat there and when I thought about how much I could have gotten in EO, I literally could have built and fit four capital ships in Eve Online for the cost that it took us just to finish one capital ship in Eve Echoes.
Yeah, because the economy in this game is broken compared to EVE Online. Mostly because the devs do things to purposefully break it.
Yeah, it's very painful, but we can all enjoy the industrial penetration that is going to be coming in a patch very soon. I personally am a bit of a freak myself, so I'm kind of looking forward to
Hurt?
some industrial penetration.
I've been enjoying industrial penetration since launch. I don't know about any of y'all.
I don't know anything about there being anything but industrial penetration because that's just the way that the world goes. And
That's right.
on the subject of industrial penetration, in celebration, I should say, of more industrial penetration, one of my favorite tracks. And this is your State of the War report of the week. And I mean, being that I'm technically a pirate nowadays, I would suppose that most of what I do is more or less related to the contracts that we receive, right? And so we get to see things, but we get to see things based off of how much people really want us to see, and how much they're willing to hire us, and how much they're willing to pay us to help them. And one such event was on last Friday, and my goodness, that was quite interesting. 7 a.m. CTA for us U.S. folks, but what was the payoff? Well, it was a colossal blue ball for one thing. And when you actually realize what was on the grid, you understand why that was a blue ball. 70 folks, 70 dreadnoughts, 4 carriers plus subcap support, numbering in the 2 to 300s. It was quite a spectacle.
Wow.
It was a spectacle out there. We didn't even have to deploy dreads because it was kind of evident that no was not coming. But instead, we did it anyway. And after that, Silent made an address saying, "Guys, we need more camps." It feels like the Cold War all over again, where everyone is just like ramping up production on war machines, and that's it. Because Silent took a picture and said, "Guys, this was on grid. We need more capitals. We need more dreadnoughts. Get out more dreadnoughts." And I read
Well,
this and laughed so
I guess
hard.
if they're going to be ramping up capital production, I guess they're going to be really happy for that industrial penetration that we talked about.
Just someone needs to make I think it's Monty Python. Monty Python's the guy walking up a street, ringing a bell, going, "Bring out your dead." We need to have someone to edit that with "Bring out your dreads, bring out your dreads."
Yeah, something like that. I think that we could actually probably get that GIF going in Bird Discord. Be kind of nice.
Yeah. Every meeting Mel has, it's basically can be summed up by wear dreads.
Yeah, wear dreads. I don't know what else to say. It seems to be the motto in Burr at least, but you can understand why. So there's a huge push for more dreadnoughts across all of New Eden at the moment. Of course, CRQ is in an ongoing war with Void and OG. Meanwhile, Silent has declared formal war on Terran Federation?
That's right. With the demand that Legend be kicked.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, they've decided that they get to decide who plays and who doesn't.
Youch. I mean, because I saw quite a number of Silent fleets heading over to Kenora.
They are. They've been deploying out of Kenora. At one point, I saw 4 dreads on a gate there and ready to jump in, sitting there waiting to jump into N-Rail. Yeah, but actually, Terran Federation's been holding its own 2 straight nights. They've turned back the Silent fleet.
I mean,
so
I can tell them the whole strategy to surviving is can be summed up in 2 words: stop caring. Like, don't care about your Saab. I mean, after they blow it all up, I mean, what are they gonna do to you? I mean,
go live in silent space.
Go live in silent space. Exactly. That's what we would do. We've actually said that, like, yeah, sure, you can blow up all our citadels. We don't care. We'll just go live in your space. And
I have some very nice stations picked out if they blow up all that Saab over there, because I'm in Terran Federation now. That's my home. So they destroy my home. I'll just go live in some nice stations. I used to be in Silent. I know their stations. I've probably got some stuff still left in some of their stations.
You better not say that too loud, girlfriend. The next precondition is
for my forward deployments. I definitely still have stuff there.
Well, there you go. Hey, an opportunity to use it. You want to come help out? If I'm living there, I'll have guests, house guests, party in their
well,
stations.
we have a NIP right now. So like I can't do anything like that, but as soon as that's done, yes.
You guys actually have a non-aggression agreement with Silent at the moment?
Just structure warfare, but yeah.
Well, there's plenty to do at a party. You don't have to hit the structures. You can hit the ships. I mean, we can do some industrial penetration and hit their miners.
Oh, yes, a double penetration.
There you go, double penetration. I like it.
I'll be honest, I gotta hand it to Silent. Like, legitimately, their strategy is quite impeccable. They always make a nip. Anytime they want to wipe out a specific organization, they will nip all their other enemies to prevent them from getting involved in the situation.
Oh, and it's also to prevent them from looking bad, right? Like, they didn't want to admit that they were affected by TSC being deployed in their space. They didn't want to admit that, so we had to, do some funny things to make it happen, but yeah.
Well, as always, we do want members of Silent to come in and explain some things from their point of view. It is notoriously difficult to get Michael JD to come in and talk a little bit about Silent. The guy's either really busy on Sundays or something like that, or something. But both I and Latara have reached out and said, hey, dude, come over and talk a little bit about Silent. So it's just really hard to get them to come in. It's also hard to get Void to come in. They're really quiet. Like, Void is insanely quiet.
Void it has a stance of silence in general. So. Yeah. It's really difficult to get them to actually come on and break that silence.
At least they're a little noisier than Pravi.
Yeah, we still need to get someone in from Pravi as well, just to be like, kind of what's your deal? No one really knows what's going on over there.
I know what's going on. They're putting Belgorns on gates to try to bait my roams. That's what they're doing over at Pravi.
They got some things going on over there, and if you listen to the chitter chatter of the Gulag, I'm the executor of Pravi. Wink, wink. Yeah, but yeah, seriously though, Pravi is an interesting place. It has decided to be neutral, and unfortunately, they're more silent than anybody else on the political stage. So
Hmm.
getting them in here would be a little wonderful thing to really let everybody know what they're about. So
I mean,
if you're
Pravi,
listening and you're in Pravi, holler at us.
dude, Pravi is the master of silence, followed closely by Void, and then it would be SHH, but SHH is like really noisy on like media, like Reddit and
Yeah,
stuff.
for an alliance called Silent Alliance, they are all noisy, loud, and
Oh yes,
boisterous.
that
So
and
yes.
that's why I want to get him on the show, right? I'm like, guys, you're over there on Reddit all the time talking. Can we get some of you to come over here and just talk to us? I mean, you know the kind of show that we run. No one's gonna bash on Silent. We're just
Yes,
looking
and
to get some, some like into like some what's going on in Silent Land. Like, what are you guys
mm-hmm,
doing? Like, why are you guys
talk to us.
smacking TF? Just put it out there on the table. I want to hear about it.
I know, right? I mean, we don't bite much unless asked.
I mean, you speak for yourself, girlfriend. I bite.
I bite
I was
too,
gonna say,
but only if asked.
I bite.
Only if
Mm,
Yeah,
asked. I'm very polite.
mm,
so true.
I bite. But anyway, so Silent is going after Terran Federation, and apparently it's all like about Legend. So we're gonna see how that whole thing develops. It should be a lot of fun just to kind of spectate and see what they do, how they handle this when they're already deploying. There are dreads out there. It's pretty interesting. Um, so other than that, no, of course, it has been or has been being hired by OG and by Void to help them out with the ZRQ issues. So it's been very interesting to see how that whole thing has been going on. Of course, some of them have been also hiring us as well. So it's just starting to um, kind of heat up a little bit, and I've really been happy to kind of be a neutral party, right? Because we don't fight because we don't like someone. We don't blow up stuff because we hate someone. We don't, you know. And that's one thing about it. One thing I love about Burr, being in Burr, we don't really do stuff because we don't like a person. We do stuff because we just wanted to blow their stuff up or because someone paid us to do it. It's just that simple. And yeah, Charizard, I agree with you. Michael JD and J Factor have had this weird rivalry and stuff going for a very long time. Um, Me and Michael, we have had a very interesting little history together, but at least we can come together and laugh about it to an extent. And it's kind of nice, I guess. But other than that, it's kind of interesting. What can I say? We At least we're on speaking terms. J Factor and Michael JD, good luck with that one. So I don't know what's gonna happen. Terran Federation, we've had them on the show. Try to get them on the show maybe in a couple of weeks. It would be great to have someone from Silent. I'm gonna reach out maybe to Zen or someone else who might want to talk about a little bit about the politics. Um, in some of their stuff that's been going on, their perspective on their wars with TSC, and some other stuff. I'd love to hear from them. And I'm also going to reach out to Tahini, whom I haven't heard from in like a really long time, because I actually really miss having him on the show and run as well. So we're gonna do some outreach, get some of these really cool people in for the state of the war. Talk a little bit about these things that they have been doing. I'd love to hear No's perspective on fighting ZRQ. I'd love to get one of the English speaking members of ZRQ to come in and talk a little bit about the things that they have been doing on their end. So lots of stuff that we can actually get into. But right now we are going to get into something that is well, what can I say? It's been a really long time since any of us have heard from Trimark. I believe not since the days when this was still Pantheon Radio, but fortunately for us, we actually have Captain Fancy Pants, one of my good friends from back during those Pantheon days, to talk to us a little bit about how Trimark is doing. So, with that being said,
From Fountain to Solitude to a starship near you, this is Eve Talk on New Eden FM.
this is Eve Talk. So, Captain Fancy Pants, first and foremost, thanks for coming onto the show and hanging out with us and subjecting yourself to some industrial penetration today.
Hey, yeah, it's good to speak to you again. It's been so long since it's been a long time since we've flown together, but yeah, it's really great to be together with this crowd because yeah, it brings back some good old memories.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. How's, by the way, I have got to ask this question. How's my buddy Graw doing? Graw was one of my favorite people in Trimark. Is he still around?
Yeah, Graw's great. He is around. He bobbed back in for a little while, but quite a few people actually. Well, I think it's true across New Eden have kind of gone on holiday recently, so I haven't spoke to him for a few weeks. But yeah, he's around. He took a break for a little while because of some personal stuff, but he came back I think about a month ago. But yeah, he's doing really well. He's doing really well. He's a pillar of the community. I love hearing his Irish accent on the
Oh my
on the
gosh,
comms.
he was so much fun. When we found out that Trimark was going like their way and we were going our way and stuff, Graw was the guy that I knew I was gonna miss the most
Yeah,
because yeah,
he's a good crack, as he would say.
hmm I believe that Graw is Irish, probably my
Yes.
favorite Irishman in the entire universe. And then
hmm
you have Klansman over in No, who's Scottish,
Oh yeah.
and it is so fun to like listen because um, one thing that Amy and myself we like to kind of like go around and just check out some of the different cultures, and we've always been into like history people and hey, what were the Irish doing at this point in time? What were the Scottish doing at this point in time? What was it like out there with the people in fact, I think that Sheeved sat there and explained to me while we were talking a little bit about Viking culture because that's
Oh yeah.
that's his background. So I really miss my friends from those different locations and those different parts of the world, and it's really great to catch up to them when we are able to do
Yeah.
it. But today is all about Trimark. Thanks for being on the show, Latara. I believe that we were fortunate to have you catch up with Captain Fancy Pants. So please.
Yeah, thank you. So, I mean, I guess the best place for us to start, Fancy, is, who are Trimark, and sort of, do you want to tell us a little bit about your history as a...
Yeah. Yeah, sure, that's fine. Obviously, like lots happened to all of us in Eve. It's got a bit of a history now for a couple of years for Eve Echoes. So yeah, I won't go into all the details, but we were founded before my time. So we were founded at the end of the alpha for Eve Echoes. We obviously founded then, had a big ramp up for the beta. And then I joined Trimark at the day one of the actual launch. So obviously my knowledge kind of starts then, really. But it's a funny journey we've been on in Trimark because, like I said, day one alliance. We've gone through, just like everyone has, lots of kind of twists and turns. But obviously the name Trimark Heavy Industries is our kind of mother corp, and we've been from the off kind of focused on industry. And I think the tagline for our original advert was something like, "Oh, we will be the first group in the game to make the first Titan," or something like that. Now we're still waiting for Titans to be released, but that was the big thing. But of course, being a nullsec alliance, you soon realise that you can't just focus on indie. So I remember when I first started, we moved into Quirius. We had a pretty solid claim there from the off, but within a couple of days we saw a bit of resistance as other people came in and tried to claim their space. So I remember we had a lot of fighting in Quirius. Quite a few times we've joked about re-establishing the Quirius Fight Club from EVE Online, because it just seemed to always have trouble in Quirius, but it's good content, so we enjoy it. So yeah, in those early days, we had a lot of industry advertising, and a lot of people joined us to become industrial players, and it became quite clear early on that there is a balance in Null where you need industry and PvP. So we had a group called the Quirius pest controllers who used to go around and roam and fight in Quirius, and gradually that culture's grown and grown and grown. And we now it's now a bit of a joke, really. Like our HQ Citadel is called Just an Indie Alliance. So we pride ourselves on being very organized, having a lot of programs for our members, and we have a solid industry, but we've clearly grown into, because as the game has grown, the game has pivoted towards more PvP as well. We've grown into a very PvP focus group, just like anyone in nullsec. But yeah, it's a good crowd. We try to cultivate like a group of mature players who are kind of respectful, not just of each other, but of like everyone in the game. And we basically, you know what it's like. We have all these sort of systems and rules, but really we try to just center around our core rule, which I think a lot of us share, which is don't be a dick. Like we try not to overcomplicate things with trying to lawyer around, oh, you must do this, you must do that. Basically, we're just a group that try to enjoy the game together, don't be a dick to one another or to other people who play the game. And it's been a real privilege actually to play with this group and have the allies and friends we've had as well. So that's us, formerly an Indie Alliance, now a hybrid PvP alliance.
Yeah, which is like you say, very important in nullsec to be a well-rounded group. And I'd say, like you say, Quirius does definitely seem to be a hotbed of activity. I mean, I don't roam Quirius all that often, but the last time I did, we ended up in this four-way Mexican standoff with my Brethren Court fleet. There was a No fleet as well. There was a Red Machine fleet, and then obviously a Trimark fleet. And we're all sort of like scattered around this little cluster of systems, kind of trying to work out which one of the three other groups we could take on. I think we ended up scrapping with Red Machine before they bailed, and then we decided to bail because it was getting a little too hot for our fleet as well.
Yeah, it is. There's always action to be had, and we're glad of the content. Obviously, it's that fine balance where you want to diplo and you want to kind of take solid actions to make sure that your sort of space isn't threatened and your members have somewhere, I don't want to say safe because nullsec isn't safe, but somewhere stable. It's like Makis can play the game, but equally you don't want to kill the content. So we're quite happy actually that Quirius does see so much action, but it's always that constant balance of, okay, let's keep it fun but manageable. And yeah, things are going pretty well at the moment. But yeah, there's certainly a lot of people who do come there for content, and it's changed, which I'm sure we'll get into in a little bit. It's changed since late last year. It used to be, a lot of allies in Quirius who would either go to other places for content, or we had good groups like Red Machine and others, and No as well actually, who would come and have roams, and we had really good fights. So the dynamics changed quite a lot because, as a lot of people know, last year Catch-22, who were our closest ally really, in the south were taken over by a combined force of No, GGWP, who are led by VLT, and Red Machine. So now we have this group of neutrals in Quirius who have from time to time been red, but currently are neutral. So now it's just constant action we have. No reached out to me a little while ago and they said, we hope you don't mind us coming at you, but there's a few places we know where we will get a good fight, and Quirius is one of them, because sometimes you go to places and there's no one there, or they turtle up, but most of the time they come to us and they'll get a good fight. So that's a nice thing for me to hear as a CEO. So yeah, we've got the locals that we skirmish with, and then we've also got people coming here specifically for content. So yeah, it's exciting really. It's a fun place to live.
I've heard from a few guys that I fly with semi-regularly that if you want to fight, you go to Quirius. Because obviously Red Machine will fleet up and fight, and then so will Trimark.
Well, it's quite rare to find space that isn't, I don't want to say blue donated, because that's not true, but normally people are blue with their neighbours and they'll work together, so it's quite rare to find a space like Quirius which has factions like that. Yeah,
and it's one of those that obviously we've talked about Red Machine a little bit, and I know reasonably recently you guys were, I don't know if it was it full scale structure warfare with each other, or was it more skirmishing with citadels being?
It's so. I would say it's never really reached full scale war, but it's such a long story. So I'll be respectful of the time we have. I won't go into all the details. I'll try and give you an overview, but obviously feel free to ask me questions. And I'll touch on different groups as we talk, but I just want to sort of establish up front the difference between Wild Geese and Red Machine. So a lot of times our members and other people, they conflate the two, but they are different. So you've got WG, who are, the best way to think of them really is just their allegiances. So they were Gen's oldest blues, and they were part of that group. I think they didn't get involved in the war, but they were kind of a separate entity that was allied with Gen. And then you had Red Machine, which was much bigger, and sided with SHH. Although their members and even their leadership do swap between the two groups, they're obviously close friends. So that's why people conflate them, because you see the same people in both groups, but they are separate. And why I mentioned that clear will become apparent in a minute. So we started off, we used to fight Red Machine. We've been in a few wars in ancient history, and we always noticed we had good fights with them. And between wars, we used to say to them, look, do you want to come over here and have a fight? And we actually had some really good times. I remember there was one occasion where one of our guys, we arranged a fight, and then we said, oh, we've just been called to a Pantheon CTA. Can we rearrange? And Red Machine were like, oh, actually, yeah, we've got a CTA as well. We're probably going to fight each other again. So they're really chill, you know, and we've been respectful of that and moved dates around and been able to still have good events fighting each other. So that was great. And that was before they moved to Quirius. WG we didn't really know very well, and we didn't really interact with. But then it kind of all changed when we had our neighbours who were originally in Catch-22. There was a bit of a move around in Quirius, but we had Catch-22 that were allies to Pantheon. And then we had the Honey Badgers as part of Catch-22 in the south of Quirius. And this is going to absolutely do my head in now. There was a group of a Russian group in Eastern Quirius, and I don't know why, I can't remember the name. But anyway, there was this group in Quirius. And, you know, we were good friends. There was a bit of a language barrier. We didn't talk all the time, not like with Honey Badgers, but we were there for each other when we needed it. And we had some fun rooms together. But Pantheon, as many people know, kind of dissolved very quickly, and we kind of lost touch with our neighbours. And what followed was kind of a land grab, I would say, by a group called NNHT, which was led by VLT, where they came and attacked our former allies while they were kind of on their own after Pantheon fell. And I think it was, I don't know whether it was a language barrier thing. I know some of them were also away because it was summertime last year or late summer. So we didn't hear about it really until it was almost all over. So they lost their citadels. VLT took over their space, and then they reached out to us and said, oh, can you help? And we were like, yeah, sure, we're all friends. Like, we'll come and help you defend your space. So we tried to take their citadels back. I think they had a couple left that we tried to defend. And as soon as we did that, because we were much bigger than this NNHT group, they called in Red Machine and they called in No. So we were then fighting No and Red Machine as well. And we couldn't really protect their citadels. Maybe we saved a few. But I think NNHT took that quite personally. And they said, oh, why are you fighting us? And we're just defending the locals here, the people who already lived here. And I think that is what started to bitter the relationship between us and NNHT, and then through that Red Machine, because they were very close. So soon afterwards, Red Machine aided NNHT in a campaign to attack Catch-22 and take over Southern Quirius and Catch. And there was, the Catch were already involved in a war in the east, and there was some of the things going on internally, and so Catch started to crumble. We again sent fleets to them. I remember there were a few occasions towards the end where we had fleets, large fleets going to them, and then they wouldn't turn up, not because of anything wrong with their players, but just because of breakdowns in communication, and you could tell something was going wrong. And it soon became clear that that we couldn't really defend Catch if they weren't. Some members did turn out to defend themselves, but if the whole of Catch wasn't sort of consolidated and turning out, then Trimark couldn't either. So we kind of watched that slowly deteriorate. And at the same time, we counterattacked NNHT. So rather than try and defend a citadel when we didn't get any communication from Catch, we actually counterattacked, and we took, there's a system in Quirius which is the most valuable system just from PI and the location it's around. So we managed to take that. That was kind of their capital in it's UHYZN, and that was kind of a show of to NNHT and their allies that we wouldn't let them come and just try and steamroll everyone. So Red Machine came. We basically, Red Machine was saying to us, "Oh, give us the Citadel back, and then we won't have war and all this stuff." And we're like, "We're not going to do that. We're not going to be held to ransom. This is our Citadel. Come and get it." And we had a really good fight, actually. They come and they won the fight and they took the Citadel back. And that was kind of the defining point where we said, right, now Red Machine and NNHT have the space that they were claiming. Trimark has our Citadels. They came for quite a lot of our Citadels early on at the start of the war. I think they were testing the water, really, to see if they could take us on. And I remember afterwards I said, "Why did you come for our Citadel?" And they said, "Oh, well, we saw you were anchoring a new one, so it was an opportunity not to be missed," which was an interesting take on it. But yeah, we managed to fend them off. They didn't take any of ours, so it was kind of a stalemate. They got their space back. They couldn't take ours. We couldn't really take theirs. Maybe some POSs, but we didn't really take many Citadels and managed to keep them. So we said, look, we're now burning each other out. We've had fun for like a month. We've had some good fights, but we're alarm clocking each other, and our members are getting pretty sick of it. So we had
there's a slight time zone difference, obviously, between yourselves and RM as well.
Yeah. But ever since, so we've had this kind of uneasy peace, but there's this belief, I'm sure it exists in the Red Machine group, because they're the key players here. NNHT have gone on and joined No, and they are a much smaller group. The main group we're focused on is Red Machine. And then within their player base, they clearly are very distrustful of us. They think we're plotting against them. They think we want to take their space and all this stuff. And it's all just, it's because it's an echo chamber. It's them sharing these kind of theories and not hearing our input to it. And it's the same in Trimark. I hear our members saying, "Oh, Red Machine are trying this and they're scouting to do this and all this stuff." And I can understand where it comes from because they have attacked us before. But at the end of the day, we are where we are. They've not taken any of our space, and we've not taken any of theirs. So it is, I hate to say it, but it is almost like a Cold War. At the leadership level, we've gotten on well, but our members don't really trust each other. We've had a few times where Red Machine have reached out to us and said, "Oh, can we have an NIP?" And we've said, "Yeah, sure." And then they said, "Oh, actually, we don't want an official one. We just want an unofficial agreement." And I don't know, that's strange to me. So there's been a lot of negotiation that's not really led anywhere. But then towards when was it? Maybe a couple of months ago, we had another issue arrives. So WG reached out to us, I think it was April, and they said, first of all, they started attacking our Citadel. So we have an embassy with them, and we said, "Why are you attacking our Citadels?" It's small groups. It was actually one of the leaders of WG. Hitting our Citadels, and we said, "Well, what's going on? Why are you attacking us?" And they said, "Oh, well, you took on a thief." And I said, "What? What are you talking about?" And back in, I think it was December last year, somebody from WG applied to join us, and they had, they had a good interview. They answered the application questions well. They seemed like a good person. They also had a good reference from some other people who knew them, so we took them on, and they've actually been really good in the corp. They'd been really friendly, really involved with the community. They've done a lot of good stuff. They've been fun to fly with. And then 4 months on, we hear this complaint, "Oh, that you've stolen from us." Go back in time, look it all over, and I hear two contradicting stories. One is that this person just went and took the corp wallet for their own benefit. And the other story is kind of all hush-hush, a secret squirrel of, "Oh, there's this power play going on between these Russian groups where Red Machine and WG, they're affiliated, they have a lot of friends amongst themselves, but actually secretly Red Machine wanted to take on or make WG unstable so they could then merge with them. So one of their leaders got this guy to take the money and all this stuff. And none of that I can prove. I don't think I really believe it myself, to be honest. But the point is, I heard all these different stories with no proof either way, and what I had to do was say, look, this is really good information. We need to take this on as a, warning about this person and make sure that they're, watched and they don't step out of line. But equally, I'm not prepared to drum someone out of the game based on hearsay, where you're saying one thing, they're saying another. And and frankly, their behaviour over the past 4 or 5 months has been impeccable. So we're not really prepared to kick out a valued member of our group, because you don't like them. Like, that's not to say we won't watch them. You know, we appreciate the heads up, but we'll only take action if we see them do wrong. And they took that very personally. So WG started sending capitals to attack our citadels, and I wouldn't say large fleets, but larger fleets than they'd been hitting us with previously. And then, of course, we beat those fleets, and so Red Machine got involved, because Red Machine are about the same size as us. If you bring in their allies, they're much bigger, but Red Machine itself is about the same size as us. So they helped WG, and they sent some of their own capitals. And when I reached out to Red Machine, I said, "What are you doing?" They said, "Oh, well, these are although they're our FCs, they're actually not. They're not doing what they're told. They're acting of their own free will. And we actually told them to go and fight in another battle, and they didn't. They chose to help WG attack you, which is a bit worrying."
A little bit suspicious.
Yeah. So the way we see it, we had a combined WG, RM fleet, and there were some other allies. I think there was another corp there whose name I forget. But yeah, there were a couple of other smaller corps there. So they had a fleet sat in low sec outside of our space. I think it was around 60 or 70 subcaps and 15 capitals, waiting to attack us. And I think they'd given us a shield timer the day before. And so they, obviously, I think were a bit tentative because we had taken out a few of their fleets. But they jumped in. Go on.
I had heard pretty much every cap they brought on the offensive didn't return home.
Yeah, it's true. So initially, after they lost their first cap, they used to come in and say, "You need to pay us 15 billion to compensate us for our losses." And then they lost another couple of caps, and then they said, "We need to pay us 50 billion," and then they stopped counting. So I think they claim that this person took 4.5 billion from their wallet, and they've now lost nearly 100 billion trying to get their what they call revenge. But yeah, so that was an odd experience. So they jumped in there. I think they had 6 or 7 dreads maybe. They jumped those in. They left the caps on the other side. We destroyed the subcap fleet. We pinned down the dreads, but they jumped through the gate. So they obviously were being very cautious, and they just jumped back through. So they didn't lose any dreads that day. I think they learned from the mistakes. But ever since then, it's clearly been a sore spot because they have taken a lot of losses. It's all us defending our space, but the way they see it is Trimark destroyed our dreads. So I've been trying to build bridges and trying to show that, in the past, a year ago, we had great fun. When we didn't live next door to each other, it was great. But the problem is WG have this personal issue, and they keep pulling their friends in RM into this, and it's embittering our members towards each other. So we're slowly making progress, but there is a lot of distrust there. And at the end of the day, they put several of our citadels into timer repeatedly. So our members are pretty bitter towards them as well. So in the end, the way we decided to deal with it was, look, we tried Diplo channels for months, and it clearly isn't working. So we said, right, we don't want to escalate to war because we know what will happen. If we say we're going to attack WG, who have been putting us into timer, we'll look like bullies. Because, we don't want to ruin the game for them. We don't want to take their space. But equally,
you're a much bigger entity than WG.
Exactly. So we don't want to escalate to war, but equally, you're not listening to our words. There needs to be repercussions. So we said, right, the leash is off. All of our members can put all of your structures into timer because that's our policies. Outside of war, we don't put structures into timer because we don't really think it's fun gameplay. So our members can do what they want for 2 weeks, and after 2 weeks, we go back to normal.
Sounds of it, you guys are holding your own, even against WG and Red Machine combined, which is impressive in itself. I know Red Machine; those guys are no joke when it comes to fleet PvP.
No, they're good combat pilots, and we've given as good as we got. I won't sugarcoat it and say, "Oh, we beat them every time," because we don't. On the defensive, we definitely won the majority of the time, but the rest of the time, it's pretty 50-50. They do give a really good fight, which we love. But you've got to remember, we've been in this space for as long as since game launch. We've been here for nearly 2 years, so we do know how to defend it. So yeah, we have been able to hold our own, but I don't know if you guys saw it. You probably did. There was that map of diplomatic ties that in EVE Online that went out a while ago. Oh, sorry, EVE Echoes. And you know, if Red Machine really did bring all their blues to bear and formed some kind of mighty coalition donut to wipe us out, we'd be massively outnumbered. I mean, we have a lot of friends. Part of our agreement when, you know, with former allies and stuff is that we don't want a blue donut. We don't want to blue each other. But if we really need each other, if we think we're going to get wiped out, then we can backfill on each other. So we helped defend Boop a while back, and we all blued each other for a period, and then we went neutral again, and that was great. So if it came to it, if they really brought all their allies to bear, Trimark alone wouldn't stand a chance, but I'm sure we have a lot of friends that could help. But I don't want it to come to that, you know? I don't want these blob wars.
Yeah. I mean, regional warfare is probably the most fun, because it's generally two mid-sized groups going at each other with reasonably equal numbers. But it is one of those as well. I do also very much agree with, like, it's great having friends, but in my opinion, I'm an FC and a PvP pilot as well. And I'd rather have friends who are grey, who don't mind me roaming their space.
Exactly. Yeah.
But the leadership has that in the back of their mind. It's like, right, I'm getting absolutely pile drived here. I need to call in my friends.
Yeah. And it's funny because our members do say that we have a lot of programs. We regulate quite a lot of stuff in our space, and that allows us to control, you know, stop whales gobbling up all the POS slots and things like that. And it allows us to generate income to then run programs where we pay people bounties and lotteries and all this kind of stuff. So we've got it all regulated, but we're now at a point where we have grown and pretty much filled our space. And our members call out and they say, oh, well, our space is full. We should move to someone else's space, and maybe we could create a content war. Maybe we could take some space. And I say that's all well and good, but the minute, you know, it's great going on a roam and having fun and small gang fights. I love that. But the minute you try and take space, you're escalating, and you need to be willing to finish what you started. And those kind of wars can go on for months, and you know, they're fun for a few weeks, but day in, day out, if you're getting up early for alarm clocks, it just sucks the joy out of it. So.
Yeah, you've got to look at your neighbours and go, who could we go after that not too many people are going to back up, so we can either steamroll or we can not.
But even then, you know, well, one, you don't want to drive the people out of the game. You know, you want to keep the game healthy with having a community. So one, you don't want them to leave, but also you can't make them leave. So even if you do steamroll someone, there's still people that are going to then be rightfully angry at you. And they're going to have an axe to grind, and eventually they're going to come back for you. I mean, we saw it happen in other groups. I'm going to be blunt. We saw it happen in Pantheon. So I just think, you know, it's good to be, in my personal opinion, it's good to be respectful of people's space and their claims to it as a whole. I mean, yeah, you could argue that groups like Red Machine, that wasn't their space in the beginning, and they took it from Catch, but realistically, you can say that about almost any group in the game, except Trimark.
It's one of those as well that I think there's a lot of people sort of forget that nullsec, it's you need the strength to back up your claims, right? So if you cannot back up your claim on space, you do not deserve to have it, especially in nullsec. Yeah. And it's a tough one, right? It's you don't want to be the person who goes to war and is trying to push someone out of some space because you're trying to prove, well, I know these guys from my intel reports, they cannot defend this space, so why do they get to have it? But then you got to worry about some of the larger groups who are trying to put on an air of, oh, we stand up for the little guy, we'll put any bully down, anyone who's trying to pick on someone who's tiny. And I mean, that's happened a couple of times. I mean, you look at realistically the start of the Shush No Blap war against Genesis, where Genesis made a play to put down Ret C in terms of like a citadel had been hit. So
Yes, but
Jan was sending a
at the
message.
same time, I try to leave silent out of those conversations because they're really doing the exact same thing that they accuse GenFed of right now to Terran Federation. So, like,
Oh,
what's the
Yeah,
difference?
oh,
yeah.
What's the difference?
They really are. They really, really
What's the
are.
difference?
And
Does that mean the whole server should just like gang up and fight silent? Like, we should all go fight silent now?
maybe we should. Maybe we should.
But it is no. I'm not going to get involved in that. But I mean,
know,
we were
right?
talking at the beginning actually. Oh, this is going to sound the wrong way. To be honest, because we've been on opposite side of the galaxy, we don't know Silent that well. We've had a few Diplo stuff, and we had some good fights when the war with Pantheon, but we've never really related to them that closely. But I will say, Silent kind of one of the few groups that have been here from the beginning, like us. So we kind of feel like we have that kind of weird, not brotherhood with them, but there's a weird tie there. But no, yeah, we're I would say lucky maybe not to have fallen in their crosshairs or really had any big issues with them, other than some fun fights during the war. But yeah, we got in I mean, it's a much smaller scale, but we got in a similar situation recently where a group reached out to us, to be honest, a group we never heard of before, and they said, oh, we're being bullied and we're close to you. Can you please come and fight to defend our space? And I had to say to them, I reached out to the people who were bullying them, in quotes, and I said, what's the story here? And I had to say to them, I'm really sorry, but I don't know you. I don't know who you are. The other people told me a different story. As much as we'd like to step up, like we stepped up for the group in East of Aquarius, whose name I temporarily forgot, HHA and SH. Yeah, we stood up for them because we knew them. We've been with them since the beginning of the game, nearly. But this group, we didn't know who you were, and we can't be world police, especially when we don't know the real context. And that's the danger you get in, especially with these big groups like SHH, is they're called on to or either they're called on to get involved in other fights, or they choose to get in other fights, and realistically, it's not their place to do so.
Yes, I mean, some would argue that was, to a degree, the downfall of Genesis as well, just getting involved in too much that wasn't really their purview.
Mm.
And it can start putting crosshairs on your back, right? Because people start thinking, oh, well, Trimark, if they're getting involved with this, they're getting involved with that. Oh, they think they can tell me what to do, so we're going to take them down a peg. And
yeah, I mean, I'm not arrogant to say we're as big as Gen or as powerful as Gen were, and like groups like we can hold our own. We have some really good fights, but I'm not even going to kid myself to say we're as good at fighting as No. We're obviously small in SHH, but they're super combat oriented and have been from the beginning. We're trying to get there. We've learned from them. We've taken on no pilots, and we've had some good fights with them. We've had some good wins against them recently, but I'm not going to kid myself in saying that we could have that kind of a server war and come out on top. But
oh yeah, no are something else in terms of combat effectiveness.
But it's true all the way down, isn't it? If you stick your nose in where it's not really where it doesn't belong, then yeah, you are going to put a target on your back.
Yeah. And I would say I know No from I was a No FC and pilot for a while.
Oh yeah. So you got some good stories to tell.
Yep, and the thing I'll always come back to when it comes to No fleets, and Kenzie can attest to this because she's had spies in place, but those comms that you think they might be very quiet, organized, and like to the point, dude, it's carnage. The comms, like you might think it would be like, okay guys, anchor up, okay, this primary. No, there are guys who are just hot micing. There'll be guys traveling in their car.
Oh, it drives me crazy. It really does.
Clansmen, get closer. Clansmen, get closer. I'm moving. Holy crap.
But the general attitude is it's like we never knew how we were so effective. And like if we don't know entirely what we're doing, then the enemy definitely
exactly. Yeah, it's great.
I think that with No, it's kind of the same mentality that we have over in Burr. It's the fact that it's on the PvP pilots, not on the actual FC, right? So you can have chaotic comms, but if you have disciplined pilots, it doesn't matter that much. Like
People should know what they're doing. Like you have predefined role. Oh,
pretty
I'm going
much.
to tackle this guy, and you should know what that means.
That's pretty
You
much
know?
what I'm getting
Yeah.
at. Like we have
Yeah.
people that are really good at things. No one has to, tell Tama how to run tackle. No one
Exactly.
has to tell me how to run, the Logi squad. We don't need to be told these things, and since we don't have to be told what to do, it's like you have an FC who is, I guess, Grand Admiral of that particular fleet, but they have other people that are able to take the reins and run those different
Yeah.
divisions. So it makes it very easy for any FC. By the time it reaches your line pilots to the point where you barely have to tell your line pilots anything, you barely have to tell your line pilots to anchor. You don't have to call and tell them anything unless it's an emergency. You're in a great spot, and that's the spot that No got themselves into, where they started training all their FCs to be, or all their pilots at least to have some FC experience. And I think that that's where they went completely right. Like that was the best direction, because when you're offering FC training to all of your pilots, where everyone has to have at least a baseline knowledge of how to FC, it makes a level of heightened awareness. Like Dragon Viper once told me, yeah, and no, we don't do fleet warps. We just don't do them. Everyone has to warp their own ship, and it takes a higher level of discipline because people are so used to care bearing and having the fleet commander do it for them, especially now that we have the care bear mode, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it,
Oh
it's
yeah.
it's literally called caretaker because we literally just allow people to do nothing, and if we wait on the gate long enough, we know that they're eventually going to jump in because it's an 8-second thing. Now I think that number needs to come down. I actually tried out the caretaker mode just to see how it would work, and I won't lie, I fell behind the fleet. So most of us issue commands faster than 8 seconds. We're not gonna wait around,
Mhm.
8 seconds. Once we get to jump into a new system to do an alignment command is just silly. Um,
Oh yeah.
so pay attention, people. The caretaker mode is good, but pay attention, please, because I'm not gonna wait for you.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I was going to say, you're saying that like people in the fleet just know what they need to be doing or whatever. Like, probably one of the best examples I've got from my time in No is literally going on comms. Okay, this is the Logi anchor. Can someone go tackle him? And someone goes, I'm halfway there. And I look for him on grid, and I'm like, how on earth are you halfway there in a Raven?
But that's the thing, right? People should know. It should have it's like football or like any sport. You have set plays. People should know. This is the situation. We're going to do this, and I'm going to scout. I'm going to anchor. I'm going to steer. And I must admit, like that's my big push at the moment is that because, like I said, caretaker mode has a place. You want to cater to. You don't want to alienate 20% of people who might be at work or whatever, and they could join, but they can't join comms. And you don't want to I know has a deaf pilot, and they do no comms roams or no voice roams specifically to show that everyone's in the same page and everyone's communicating together in voice.
Argel is the pilot you're talking about, and
which is great.
He can FC.
Yeah, exactly. So you want to use the tools you've got without being over reliant, and also having people know how to communicate more efficiently and not having to be spoon fed everything.
Oh, I've got to say, I love Argel as a pilot, though.
Yeah.
So Manev, I can remember him. He's sitting there on comms, going like, "Oh, is my mic working? My mic working?" And like, literally, it's just perfectly timed. Argel types in fleet chat, "Manev, I can't hear you." And so Manev panicking, like, "Oh no, my mic's not working." And we're like, Manev. Look who wrote that.
Yeah, it's not your mic, mate. And that's great. We recently had that come up today. We're like, why did we only get 50 to this event? Well, and there were 20 people who said, I was there, I was in station, but I was at work and I didn't know where you wanted me to go. So you need to be aware of that as well.
Oh yeah, sometimes I for roams especially, CTA is slightly different, but for roams I basically say, look, I want people in comms, because saying, okay guys, we're going to warp over here, okay, make sure you're doing this or this, it's so much quicker to speak it than it is to type it.
It's true, but you want to get, and I get that we're all on a learning pathway, definitely myself, and we want to, we want to bring on new players, but you do want to reach a point where you don't have to say that at all. We're going to go to the system, we're going to set up a camp, and that should be all you need to say.
Oh yeah, definitely.
That's the goal. It doesn't necessarily happen, but that's the goal.
Oh yeah, I just remember when I was in Void and I moved over to No, and being in Void, it's a very much, I'd say, mixed ability group. You get guys who are like coming on their first PvP trip. You got guys who are predominantly indie or PvE guys, and then you've got some of the guys who are hardcore PvPers. So you do find yourself having to spell things out a lot more. It was the same running fleets for Genesis. And honestly, the first time I went out with No and I was running a fleet, I get like 7 or 8 people in comms going, "Why are you telling me how far to orbit and like to keep my speed up and to split my tracking disruptors?" And I'm like, it's bad habits, man.
But it was the same if you.
Void, so.
Yeah, but it's the same at the beginning of the game. You had a distinct gap between people who played EVE Online and didn't, and people wouldn't even know what orbits were in the first month of the game. So, I mean, we're really trying to push in Trimark to we've got some the typical kind of EVE Online YouTube videos that we're trying to get people to watch, and we're also doing slots in our Fireside where our FCs they cover sections, different areas of PvP, and I'm not going to lie, it's heavily based on those videos because they're so good. So we got FCs doing that, and we're constantly trying to run training events, but you need people that are willing to do it because there's stuff that you just wouldn't know unless you were told. So that's why I'm glad to hear you're running PvP training, and maybe we'll send some people your way because we always need more trainers.
Yeah, I mean, you got things like principles such as vector matching that does work in Echoes. It's a little harder, but like vector matching with sniper ships and like you go in like cruisers versus frigates and vector matching to basically be able to take them on. You got the principles of like drag and stop bubbles and like how best to set them up. And there's things that guys from EO definitely either do instinctively at this point or like with very little effort. And if you've only ever played Echoes like I have myself, you don't really think, oh, well, I can use the tactical overlay. Okay, I can see that he's moving that way. So if I also move like parallel to him, that will reduce the tracking and things like that. And like you don't generally think of it straight away. But I mean, even myself, I'm still working on things like that.
Yeah, I still remember the first time I fought Heck 28. He came into my system in a Nishima when he was still kind of like, doing things in mid-sized ships. And I knew that it was like kind of sort of a death wish to go and do it because, I mean, an arbitrator covert ops cannot fight an Nishima. And I just went ahead and decided to, to fight with him just to see how things would go. And I was really impressed with his ability to kind of like, for example, most of the fight we spent kind of just trying to jog for position and didn't really matter as much. But you don't straight line, so you always go at an angle. And the battleship pilots who are smart enough to like turn their ships and move perpendicular to how I'm moving are the ones that impress me the most. The ones that will actually turn their hull and I see the broadside of their ships as I am moving, perpendicular. So I can't really, it's really making it more difficult or making it take longer for me to actually close in that distance, which means that they might have a chance to escape if I don't have an intelligent tackle on grid. For those of you guys that are low sec, high sec radders or whatever, and you don't know these things, this is how you avoid getting snatched up when you're doing your stories in low sec.
Yeah, you parallel their line and reduce the tracking to the point where you might even get a few hits off before they get on top of you.
You might get a few hits off, or you might get away because they can't really close the distance as fast. So you have more time to get off grid, and without being warp scrammed. But again, it depends on if they have a tackle. They have a tackle. I mean, they could snag you from like, maybe 40, 50 kilometers, and it's kind of like, well, what are you gonna do? But if it's just like a cruiser or something ganking you, you have a pretty good chance of getting out if you do it that way. Especially if parallel, you have like some kind of anomaly or something you can warp off to, or you can bounce off of a you can bounce off of a mining belt or something. And for God's sakes, when you're in warp, please make a safe spot.
But you do get that. I mean, let's not kid ourselves. EVE Online obviously has more complexity. It's been around for longer. It has more depth in the actual game mechanics. But I think you do get a broader spectrum of types of player and player skill level in EVE Echoes. Just because some people do treat it like almost like an AFK mobile game, and other people are really serious. So you can meet all kinds of people who know all the tactics you just mentioned, and people who literally will just warp at 0, approach, press all your modules, and done.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm an EO vet, so that kind of answers that question. I learned a lot of what I know about fleet commanding in EVE Echoes, but for the most part, I already understood how combat worked, and the rest of it was just kind of like picking up things a little bit at a time and observing what other people are doing. So I would tell anyone that's trying to train in doing things like this, one of the best things that you can do is to watch what other people are doing. Watch what other more experienced pilots are doing. I actually saw that Tama dropped in the lounge, and he is one of the most experienced people when it comes to tackle and when it comes to scouting work of anyone that I know. And so just observing him work is wow. You know, you can learn a lot. You don't have to say nothing. You don't have to say anything.
Thomas seems like he's got like 8 mid slots on his slasher interceptor. It's insane.
And I'm a big fan of using the resources out there. Like, there's a lot of stuff, there's a lot of guides, there's a lot of videos, and they're all great, but nothing can compete with actually jumping in a fleet, whether it's in your alliance or whether it's actually just like an MPSI fleet with other groups, and just seeing how other people play, and taking the good habits, leaving the bad, and letting those things become muscle memory. Like, nothing can compete with that.
Pretty much.
Oh, definitely.
I haven't gotten to fight Hecht very much since that fight that I had with him over there. But he really has stepped up his game. He does a lot of interesting things. I've seen him yeet a Vindicator in, much like Latara, and just use it to bait an entire fleet and get off some good kills. And beat some.
Oh yeah, the difference between myself and Heck though is he'll bait people into on top of his Vindicator, and he will slaughter at least half of them.
Oh yeah,
I'll just die.
I lost most of the small ships in my fleet and cruisers when that happened, and it was really due to us trying to go and protect the Citadel timer, but he didn't really have any interest. He just wanted to, like, soak up the kills. So I lost a good portion of the smaller ships in my fleet to Hecht. The guy's no joke.
I was roaming Void and ran across Heck, and myself and Dragon Viper and Cyber from Bell. We 3v2'd him, so 3 RB2s versus a Ashimu and a Daredevil. We managed to get his Daredevil, but I think every single arbitrator ended up in Hull.
Yeah, he's very intelligent. Very intelligent.
That dude is no joke.
He's one of those guys you really would like to try to invite to the show, but you don't think he'd come because it's just, he's too busy slaughtering stuff. But he's quite amazing, and I think that just fight people like that. You know what I mean? For those of you that want to be an FC, or those of you that want to be better at PvP, just go fight him. Yes, he will blow you up, but you will learn something as he blows you up. But other than that, sorry.
The amount of people that say to me, because everyone has, FC roles and JFCs and pilots in training, and people say, oh, well, I want to join the training program, but I'm worried about getting people killed. It's like, but that's the best way to learn. Go and get yourself blown up.
Yeah,
great.
Go and get yourself killed. I yeeted a fleet and cried the day. Like, still remember.
I'm pretty sure you've yeeted me before, Mackenzie.
If you were in my Southern Dell fleet, I made a tactical error one day, and I yeeted my entire fleet into ACR.
I would do it again with you anytime.
Oh man.
No problem. Yeah, it's and actually somebody made a good point to me the other day, and they said, at the end of the day, this is an MMO, it's a social game, and where do we actually gather together? Where do we play the game together? It is in fleets. It is what the game's all about, and it is always, go die together, go learn together, and yeah, I really I can't get enough of it. I'm a little bit sad, if I'm honest, because as many of you will know, and many of you will be able to empathise with, to keep a big a medium-sized organisation running, there's a lot of admin, a lot of stuff. So I don't play as much as I like to, and I don't fleet up as much as I like to. It's basically CTAs, and that's all. I went on a roam the other day, but in general, it's very rare I get to do roams. But it's the best way to play the game. And we meet up in person. We've got Trimark meetup this Saturday, so it's the second one we've had. We had one last year, which was amazing. I think this one's going to be bigger as well. So it's great to actually see these people face to face, and then to fly with them in the game. There's nothing beats it. You can do all the PI you want, you can do all the solo ratting you want, but at the end of the day,
the game is
small
that's
gangs.
That's what it's all about, is community. That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
If you're not doing that, then you're probably not having fun. And I've had a few people I tried to invite to the corporation, and they would tell me something like, "Oh, I'm gonna not join the corp, or I'm going to stay at low sec or null sec, or high sec until I learn more about the game." And I'm like, dude, that is the exact opposite of what you should be doing right now. You really need to just go and join a group that's more established, that can teach you, that can get you into shifts, that can help you with your point allocation. Because if you sit in the high sec long enough, I promise you're gonna get bored and quit the game. I promise. You will get bored, and you will get bored because, how do I know? I did that. Like when I went to EVE Online for the first time, I spent a ridiculous amount of time in high sec, and I quit after a while, but when I actually got into a group, I was like, oh, and we're on comms like every day talking about how to improve and how to do stuff, and like, okay, now this is better. So you are not going to enjoy the game trying to play the game by yourself. There are plenty of communities out there. There are, communities for people that are more PvP oriented, like Burr. We pretty much exclusively do PvP. That's it. Of course, Mel's got us care bearing for a little while in the for the arms race, but that's okay. We're gonna do the care bearing, and then we're gonna go back to PvPing. And then you have groups that are balanced around the board, like Trimark, where you can get the PvP experience, but you can also do some indie, and you can also do some PvE, and you can also you can do some PvP, and you also get to fly with Gra. And trust me,
Yeah, true.
Gra is a character, and one of my
Always an
favorite people in the
experience.
game. So I think that you can actually hit up Captain Fancy Pants or most any other people that are in Trimark, and they'd be more than welcome towards you and get you pulled into the game. If you have friends that need to get into the game, I mean, you got no shortage of people who are going to help you and get your rookies all set up and squared away. So with that, maybe I will pay Trimark a little bit of a visit. I've kind of been waiting to pay some people a visit. I've been waiting to pay Jarhead a visit because he said that if I bring something bigger than cruisers, he's gonna fight me. And we had this contract coming up. We had some things that we had to work out with No to make sure that we didn't have any we didn't want to unnecessarily go to war with No, as we've always had a pretty good relationship with those people, and now Mel wants us to do a little bit of care bearing. So maybe I'll go and hit up Tahini and say, hey, dude, remember that NPSI fleet we were talking about? Like, where can I get in? Cause I've been ordered to care bear, but I really don't want to. So I'm gonna come over here with you and just.
The Care Bear Summer.
Oh my God, the Care Bear Summer, but but I think that we have had a really amazing episode, and we want to thank Fancy Pants for being here with us, because I'll be honest, man, this show is really just like it's nothing without having guests. To talk about community, to talk about PvP, to talk about how they're doing things. But in respect for your time every Sunday, we thank you for tuning in, and we're going to let you go with this one. Smooth Criminal. I mean, really, this is probably like the apex song for this broadcast, I think. The legendary Michael Jackson. Love, hugs, and kisses, Newton Local, and we will see you for next week's episode of New Eden FM. Turn it up.